Weasley reunion. The Burrow, 8:30 a.m. Arthur, are you working this evening? Molly was in the kitchen fixing breakfast when her husband walked in. Not tonight, dear. They asked me to take a day off since I've been working more extra raids, but I'll be on tomorrow. A rare day off for Arthur Weasley, the man who loved his job almost as much as he loved his family. All right, do you think you can help me in the garden later? He kissed her cheek. Sure, dear. She fixed them both plates and sat down to eat, but just as they had, the flu went off. Who is it? Molly called. It's Albus, Molly. May I come in? Yes, come on. With that said, Dumbledore stepped in from the living room and into the kitchen. What can we do for you this morning, Albus? Yes, I'm sorry to barge in so early, but I figured you would like to hear the news. Molly stared at him. Is it about Harry? Arthur stared too and Dumbledore nodded. You found him? Yes, well actually he found us in a manner of speaking. He's a Durmstrang student now. Durmstrang? Molly about dropped the spoon she was holding. How did Oh, of course. She seemed to understand. Harry's guardian would put him in a new magical school, to keep him from being found. Is he all right? He's better than the last time I saw him. He's put on some weight and he's made friends. Durmstrang, isn't that school known for its knowledge of the dark arts? Dumbledore nodded. Harry is doing well from what I know. His headmaster is very pleased, and as it turns out Sirius and Remus knew where he was. Both Weasleys were stunned. And they didn't say anything? Molly was flabbergasted. How could the two men not say anything about Harry's new life? Didn't they want the boy home? It turns out Harry's new guardian was responsible for releasing Sirius and catching Pettigrew, and they'd met her beforehand, so... Huh? Arthur stood up. Did the Dursleys say anything? Dumbledore shook his head. No, that blasted block on their minds is tougher than we thought. Now I believe you'd like to know who Harry's guardian is? They nodded and Dumbledore took in a breath. It's your niece. That time Molly dropped the glass she had in her hand. She didn't care that it shattered on the floor, but Arthur cleaned the mess up. My niece. Charlotte has become Harry's new guardian, and so he's now your adopted nephew. Molly's mouth dropped to the floor, and Arthur looked like he could faint. Lottie, she's here? She's back? Molly had tears forming in her eyes. Yes, but Molly, before you start, let me warn you that Charlotte isn't the same as she was before. She's very protective of Harry, and she's threatened legal action against those who would try to hurt him. Also, this hasn't hit the papers yet, but Harry is partially going to compete in the tournament. How did? Charlotte saw his name coming out and she tried to stop it, but someone bewitched the goblet to pull Harry's name out. However, Durmstrang's real champion is Victor Krum, and unless something happens to him, Harry won't have to compete. Arthur's eyebrows rose slightly. I don't understand. If Harry's name was pulled, wouldn't he compete regardless? He would, Arthur, but Harry Potter was the name chosen and Harry's legal name now is Priot, Harrison Priot. While he is under a magical contract, he will only compete if Krum is incapable of doing so. That was a bit of a relief. Albus, can we see them? Molly didn't care that the breakfast was going cold, she wanted to see Harry and Charlotte right away. I have gotten Charlotte to agree to a meeting, but I couldn't expect a warm welcome. I have already sent word to Percy. He will come too, and of course your other children who are here as well. Oh, Albus, I almost forgot Charlie and Bill are coming home later. Charlie has something to do with the tournament, but Bill is going to visit since he's on break from work. A coincidence for the entire Weasley clan. What time should we come? In an hour if you can. That much she has agreed to, but Harry will not come yet. He has classes of his own and I believe he's staying close to his new classmates. You can see him if you can get on Charlotte's good side. Molly's shoulders slumped a little. If Charlotte was anything like she remembered, it wasn't going to be easy talking to her. She was so much like Gideon when she was little, stubborn as a mule and headstrong. "We'll do what we can, but Albus, do Ron and Ginny?" "No, they don't know, and I doubt the twins remember her, seeing as they were still infants when she left." Dumbledore figured if Charlotte could try and get along with the other Weasleys other than the younger two, there might be hope to let Harry stick around a little longer. "We'll be at the school in an hour." Dumbledore nodded and left them to their breakfast, but Molly didn't touch hers. "Arthur, I knew Charlotte would return, but—" "I know, we want to know where she's been all this time. I'm sure your great-uncle had something to do with it." Arthur was always suspicious about Ignatius, but Molly refused to believe at the time that Charlotte would go off with the man despite his abilities, but now well she could understand it. "Yes, I think so. Arthur. Lottie would be angry at me, I'm sure, but she must know that we would never hurt a sweet boy like Harry." "Perhaps, but do you remember what happened the last time you saw her?" Molly cringed at the memory, remembering the look on her sweet niece's face and the tears that didn't fall. How she hated herself for it, and when Charlotte ran away Molly never forgave herself. "I'll never forgive myself for it, but I can at least try and make it up to her." It would no doubt be a long road ahead, but Molly was willing to do anything to show Charlotte she still loved her. Later, Headmaster's office. "Sir. Why have we been called here?" Ginny, Ron, Fred, and George Weasley had all received orders to come straight to the headmaster's office after breakfast. They didn't know what to expect. The last time they'd been called up here they'd all received punishment for the incident with Harry. "I'll explain in a moment, we're just waiting for your parents and brothers to arrive." Their eyes widened. "Our parents and brothers. What's going on?" Ginny seemed a bit scared, but eager too. "All in good time." The flu went off after he said that, and stepped the rest of the Weasleys. Molly brushed herself off, but she didn't waste time. "Ron, Ginny, boys, let's get over here." They stepped in front of the desk. "Where is she, Albus?" "Right here." The door opened and Charlotte stepped through. Bill, Charlie, Percy, Molly, and Arthur all gasped at the sight of her. She had grown and changed so much from the freckled-faced little girl into a beautiful young woman. Lottie," Bill whispered. He hadn't seen or heard from Charlotte in years. He almost didn't recognize her. "Don't call me that." She glared a little. She hadn't heard that nickname in years. Bill started calling her that because he liked more than calling her by her full name. "I would say it's nice to see you all again, but I'm only glad to see a few faces." Charlotte was shocked when Charlie came up and hugged her suddenly. "Hello, Charlie." She hugged him back slightly. "I missed you." He pulled back with that same toothy smile he'd always had even as a kid. "Missed you too, and Billy." Bill's face flushed red. "How long it's been," he whispered. What's going on here?" "You know this woman?" Ron pointed at her. "That's right. You two weren't even born when I left." She glared hatefully at Ron and Ginny. "Now we have the unfortunate chance to meet." "We don't know her either." The twins spoke. "That's because you were still in nappies at the time." Charlotte let out a small laugh. "You two are quite a handful, I hear." As she said that, Molly slowly walked forward. "Charlotte, how beautiful you are." "Don't come closer." Charlotte put up a hand to her. "The last thing I want right now is one of your bear-crushing hugs, not that you ever gave me one to begin with." Molly paled and hung her head slightly. "Would someone bloody explain what's going on here?" Typical impatient Ron. "You'd better tell them the truth before Ronnie's head explodes." Ron's face was getting so red it looked like it would burst. He was probably also mad about the nickname Charlotte just gave him. "Ron, Fred, George, Ginny. This is Charlotte Preet. She's your cousin, your Uncle Gideon's daughter." All their eyes widened. "Our cousin. But Mum, you never said." "Ah, so you didn't tell them?" Charlotte interrupted with a smirk. "And Albus tried to have me believe you'd missed me, Molly." Molly looked like she'd been slapped. "I should have known." Charlotte, please. Arthur stepped forward. He told us you saved Harry, and you're his new guardian. Well, I couldn't just let him die? Not after what those two did to him, plus the whole house you are supposedly proud of. She glared hatefully at the younger two. You're our cousin, Ginny whispered. But what? Yes, Charlotte Sophia Priet at your services, or as others may address me, Lady Priet. Molly's eyes widened a bit. Which was my birthright, of course, and you never bothered to tell me anything, unlike Uncle Ignatius. So you were with Ignatius? Arthur whispered, but Molly didn't seem to hear him. Charlotte, I know you're angry with me, and you have every right to be, but please understand we had nothing to do with Harry's suicide attempt. We were furious with Ronald and Ginny when we found out, but we care about the boy, you must know that. Harry hasn't said otherwise. Charlotte didn't shoot her down, despite how much she wanted to. If you want to see Harry and he wants to see you, I'll arrange it. Molly's eyes lit up. But only if you keep those two in line. She pointed at Ginny and Ron. Hold on. Ron suddenly had a realization hit him. Your Lady Priet. Does that mean you're? Yes, Ron, she's rich. The Priet line goes way back and Charlotte is the Priet-er. Bill rolled his eyes as he spoke. Mum? Ginny looked at her mother and the look confirmed Bill was right. She's rich. And you didn't share with us? Ron was angrier than before. Mr. Weasley, I didn't call you up here to unleash your jealousy. You deserve to know you have a cousin, and the fact that your cousin has adopted Harry. Dumbledore was afraid this might happen. He just hoped nothing would get out of hand. I'm getting bored already, but if I find out you've been causing more trouble. Charlotte got close to Ron and knelt down to his face. You and I are going to have a lot of problems. I'm not scared of you. She got closer, so close her breath was hot on his face. You should be. She pulled back. Oh, and if you start about Harry being a cheat and showing his true colors, then I'll be sure everyone starts seeing your own. He is a cheat. Ron got a smack to the head from Molly. 10 points from Gryffindor for your mouth, Mr. Weasley. Lady Priet is a guest here and she'll be treated as such along with her son. Yes, so either tighten up on your manners, Ronald. Or I'll be sure everyone knows exactly what your insides look like. With that said, Charlotte turned on her heel and left. She slammed the door behind her, and Molly held back the tears. What did she mean by that? Ginny looked at all her brothers. Her cousin was obviously a tough, stubborn woman and rich. Which also made Ginny mad because she could have gotten new school supplies if Charlotte had shared her money with the family. How did she have money when her parents struggled as it was? Couldn't she share? I'm not sure, but I would listen to her advice, Ron. If Charlotte is anything like I remember, then she will follow through on her threats. Bill said before going to his parents. I need to get back to Gringotts. I'll come by later tonight. He kissed Molly's cheek and hugged his dad before leaving with Charlie not far behind. Charlotte. Percy whispered. She had changed a lot since he last saw her, and even if they never saw eye to eye, Percy still loved her like a big sister, especially after what she did for him years ago. He would write to her, he could at least do that. I'll see you all later. He left through the flue in a hurry. She really has changed. Molly sighed. I don't blame her. At least she'll let us talk to Harry. Maybe we can come by before dinner. You can. I'll see if Charlotte agrees. If not, perhaps Anton will. Molly hoped Charlotte would. Despite her own anger at them, she wouldn't deny them a chance to talk with Harry. Mum. Does this mean Harry's going to be over for holidays this year? Molly frowned at Ginny. Somehow I doubt he will join Vera, not with you and Ronald around. You two had better behave. We'll see you later. With that done, Molly and Arthur were gone, but the other remaining Weasleys were still quite confused. So we have a cousin who's filthy rich and claims to know. We are handfuls. The twins talked, and then laughed. This could be fun. The twins stalked off, conversing in possible ways to prank their new cousins, But the two younger ones were different. They left after realizing their first classes were almost over, and they had to get their assignments. But while Ginny was eager to plan on seeing Harry, Ron had a certain know-it-all to vent with. Later that day. "I wish we didn't have to do this," Harry groaned as he and Victor walked towards the room where they were supposed to be meeting with an interviewer from the Daily Prophet along with Diggory and Fleur. "We may as well. I have heard about this particular reporter. She tends to exaggerate the truth, or what you would call likes to fix her stories so people will demand more." Skeeter. Harry remembered a few things about her. She was a bloodthirsty type of reporter, liked to make her stories juicy enough for her own popularity and exploit those she wrote about whether it be truthful or not. "Does your mum know?" Harry shrugged. "I doubt she could convince Fudge to put up a new reporter. I mean, she hates the man." That was true. Charlotte knew how Fudge was more than anyone, even if he never met her. "I wouldn't be so sure on that. At the very least, if this woman scandalizes us, she can be charged after all." That was true, but Harry still wasn't so sure. "Here." Victor turned his face towards his own and kissed Harry's lips, a sweet kiss that gave them both some relief. "That helps." Harry smiled. He felt so lucky to have Victor here with him. He just wished it wasn't under the particular circumstances. "What if? If you wish for everyone to know, we will tell. If not." Harry stopped him. "I don't think we should, at least not yet. Things are tense now as it is, and I don't want our love life plastered over the front page regardless if my mum helps or not. I think we should wait." Victor's face fell a bit. "You're not ashamed of us, are you?" Harry stared at him. No, I just don't want any more trouble for a while. I want us to be safe, and this tournament is putting us both at risk enough. I care too much to watch you get hurt. But who am I kidding? I want us to be accepted, but I don't know what to think." Harry calmed down. Victor grabbed him by the shoulders. "I'm sorry I asked. I'm worried too, but we shouldn't be afraid of people hating our relationship." "I'm not afraid, and I know you're not either. It's not that, it's just I've already got people after me enough. I don't want to risk you getting hurt because of me." "I'm not worried about that. I care about you." "I know, and I'm glad, but..." Harry was being silly. He shouldn't be scared about them coming out. Hell, Victor didn't care if he lost some fans. He was still a fantastic Quidditch player. Plus he was a top student at Durmstrang, and Europe was open to homosexual relationships. Or at least some parts of it were. "So what do you want to do?" Harry cleared his head for a moment. "Let's only bring it up if she asks, and before she sets off with the interview in the morning. I'll let my mum know if she doesn't already." Meow. Both boys turned round to see Emerald coming over to them. Harry let her leap into his arms and she purred against him. "Kitty, you can't be in here right now." She nudged against his chest. "I think she feels you're a little distressed, just wants to comfort you like me." "Oh, Merlin, someone else to fuss over him. Let's get this over with, all right?" Harry nodded. He wasn't comfortable about this, but he'd rather have it done now than later. "There you two are." Skeeter and her cameraman greeted them. "Please sit over there, will you?" She pointed to a spot where Fleur was seated with Diggory standing behind her. "Pose for me, a quick photo for the front page." They complied quickly, but kept their faces straight as the camera flashed. "That will do. Now my name is Rita Skeeter, I write for the Daily Prophet." She shook their hands. "Of course you know already, but it's you the people wish to know about. Get on with it already." Barely 5 minutes in the room and she was already creeping Harry out. "Now who wishes to go first?" She looked at them all. "How about you, Mr. Potter?" "Priyat. My name is Priyat now." "Oh, of course, forgive me. Now how's about we step into this little room for some privacy?" She motioned to a cupboard, a large broom cupboard. "Hold it." Just before Harry moved to follow the woman, the door opened to reveal Minerva McGonagall. "Miss Skeeter, Before you begin your interviews, I suggest you read this first." She held out a note and Skeeter paled a bit when she and Harry both spotted the Priet family seal. Skeeter carefully opened it, and after a few moments looked towards Harry completely pale but tried to hide it behind a fake smile. "Well then, Mr. Priet, shall we begin?"
I'm glad you enjoyed the video. Before we close the video, I noticed 53% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. If you can, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment down below. Until next time, goodbye!